Hey guys, what's going on? I hope you're all really enjoying the Battlefield 4 beta. I know I am. I'm just looking forward to the full release now, and I'm hoping they're going to release a second map for the beta as well. It's not confirmed or anything, it's just me having some wishful thinking. So Domination then. Domination was a game mode that was introduced in the close quarters maps, mainly due to the fact that, as their name would suggest, they were close, small maps. So sitting in a small area with a normal cap time wouldn't really have worked. Essentially think of Domination as smaller conquest, but the flag neutralization and capture time is significantly faster, enabling more fast-paced gameplay. It tends to mean that the flags are constantly changing as well. An important thing to remember is that you cannot spawn on a flag in Domination like you can on normal conquest, but I will get to that in a second. What I wanted to do is give some tips for success in Domination, because I've been playing it quite a lot in Battlefield 4, and infantry is really what I mostly play on Battlefield 3 as well. Some of the tips as well may be map related for Siege of Shanghai, and others will be general Domination tips. So let's get started. So always staying on the move. Domination is a super fast game type, and there is next to no redeploy timer. So players are constantly spawning and flags are constantly changing. If you want to be successful in this game mode, you really need to keep moving and keep on your toes. Keep going from flag to flag or defending flags, but never stay in the same place too long, as someone you kill could spawn straight back in and potentially head right to where you killed them last. Know your flags. Now this may seem obvious, but it ties into something else, so bear with me. As I mentioned before, you cannot pick a flag to spawn on in Domination like you can in Conquest. What happens when you choose to deploy, assuming you don't spawn on a teammate, is that you are put in a random spawn point near one of the flags that you own. So if you own A and B, for instance, on this map, you will not spawn anywhere near C, but instead you will have a random point near A on B. If you don't own any flags, you will just spawn randomly. Knowing what flags your enemy has and what flags you have means you can get a good idea of where your enemy is going to spawn. It means if you are holding a flag or capping a flag, for the most part you can have a much better understanding of what general direction your enemies are going to be coming from, and that's going to make a difference. Always keep checking the minimap, and that is going to help massively. Okay, so squad orders. Now if you want to maximise points from the game, then utilise squad orders. Now this obviously applies to other game modes as well, but in Domination, because you are capping flags constantly, if you have a squad leader that can put up markers on flags, you gain so many points if you follow the order each time. The same thing applies if you are the squad leader. If players listen to your attack and defend orders, you will gain extra points every time. It's worth between 25 to 75 points every time, on top of the 100 that you get for capturing a flag. And that's well worth noting and well worth doing as well. Know your map. Now this may seem obvious, but it really is half the battle. If you know where the best routes are and the fastest routes, then you can sneak between flags and cap them sometimes before the enemy can even react. For instance, if you know the enemy has just capped A and are headed to C, you could go from B around the back to cap A whilst they're capping C. Now it's not always going to work perfectly, but if you're constantly on the move and constantly following what the enemy's doing and predicting what they're doing, it will make a big difference. Levolution is also something that you have to contend with now on these maps. On Domination, it's not a huge Levolution event, but there are smaller things that you need to take into account, and I'm sure this is going to be the case on the other maps as well. On this map, for instance, the main ones are the shop shutters that can come down, and of course they can be taken back up via a button. The shutters can also be blown up though with a well-placed grenade, so if you're a ways away from the button or you just want to not bother pressing it, throw a grenade and job done. Now the next point I want to raise is very much related to Shanghai, but if you have played Domination even for one little game on this map, you will know full well that the roof of the C building literally attracts players like shit attracts flies. It's really silly how many people go on the roof and just spam explosives. Even when their team has no flags, they refuse to come down. I tend to ignore them as best I can. Now there are a few sneaky spots that you can cap flags from that pretty much cover you from the roof. Might not necessarily always cover you from explosives, but these are the ones I tend to use so that I avoid fire from the roof when I'm capping flags. On C, you can hide here and pretty much be covered from people if they're on the roof. On B, you can hide in either the container or close behind the truck trailer. They're the 2 points that I find the best. On A, you are covered from the roof, so it really depends on the situation as to where you go, because you're not really going to get shot from the roof. Now the last tip I'm going to give is to avoid the middle section of the map. This one really only relates to Shanghai so far, but it is a lot easier said than done. I know I get drawn into battles constantly in the middle of this flag all the time, but it really isn't very wise. The middle of the map has so many angles to get killed from. As I rotate around here, look how many spots enemies could be, and you begin to see what I'm trying to say. You've got so many angles where enemies could be hiding, from the ground to the roof. It's really pot luck when you step out there if you're going to survive or if you're going to get shot. Obviously sometimes you will just run across to A. I'm not saying not to do that, but just bear in mind that your best routes are going around the outside. You just need to think more carefully about how you're going to get from flag to flag. Now these are not the be all and end all of tips for domination, but I think they're certainly a good start. I hope that in some way you have found them useful, and hopefully it'll even make your domination experience that little bit more enjoyable. As always, thank you for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next one.